What is it like for you personally taking on this iconic role?
How does it feel?
What has been the most fun?
What's been the best part?
Are you enjoying being Doctor Who?
I love being Doctor Who. It's absolutely amazing. I wake up in the morning and I'm Doctor Who. And I go out to the shops and buy a pint of milk, I'm Doctor Who. And I go and get the papers, I'm Doctor Who. And everywhere I go, I'm Doctor Who. And people smile at me. And people are pleased to see Doctor Who, who's far more interesting and exciting than I am.
Well, I just think it's just being Doctor Who is just an amazing experience because you become, for the time that you are the Doctor, the centre of this affection, and this warmth, and so to have that in your life is extraordinary. And it's just very difficult to describe. It's not, you know, it's not like it's I can't, you know, it's fantastic because you get good seats in restaurants. Go to the wrong restaurants. But generally, I feel it's just a very, very special and privileged position to be in, and it's kind of life-changing. So it's just wonderful. It's wonderful to be the Doctor. That's what's great about it. You are Doctor Who for a while.
What is, I guess, like the most amazing thing that has happened to you that you're expecting to come from the show?
Oh, that's a good question.
That I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
You know, it's just an extraordinary experience, the whole thing. I mean, I didn't realize the show. People tell you that the show is successful overseas and that it was catching on in America, but I didn't realize it was to this scale. You know, so to come here and find this warmth and affection for something that that goes all the way back to my childhood and I find myself in the center of now is absolutely extraordinary. But you know, the most amazing thing that happens is that I get the affection for the whole 50 years pointed in my direction. And that's a great position to be in.
If you were able to bring back...
If you could bring back...
any companion from any season...
Who of the former companions would you like to meet?
A companion that you've never traveled with before.
What companion would it be?
Who would it be?
She didn't mean that. She didn't mean that.
I think that
Donna.
I think that he would like. He loves traveling with Clara. I think that's the special bond he has is with Clara. But
This is because we're going back to work on Monday. This is why.
I've got to say that. But I think he'd like to see his granddaughter again.
Oh, good answer.
I always think that it would be nice for him to meet his granddaughter again because William Hartnell did that wonderful speech about her.
Hillary Clinton.
I would bring back Susan. Because that's an unanswered part of the story that I think needs to be answered. Woo! And that's who I'd bring back.
Thank you.
I think I'd like to bring back Ian and Barbara. Who were the amazing, very, very first companions. Because they were so like, they were school teachers in the 60s. And they'd be like, why are people so rude about each other all the time? You know, I think they'd really be shocked by the world and by the Doctor. But they're more, you know, I think, well, there's so many, you know, one doesn't like to, I think Tegan's pretty amazing. Janet Field, I think she has a great figure and fun about her. Maybe it's because she was Australian. It was very unusual for the Doctor to have alien companions who were not British. So I think Tegan would be fab, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If you could write your own Doctor Who episode, what would it be about?
I think that I would like to see, I'd like to see how the Doctor and his granddaughter came to be. What is that situation? Is that really his granddaughter? If that's his granddaughter, is she a Time Lord? Or is she adopted? Or is it just a weird kind of, is he looking after her? But there's some intense kind of psychic or genetic link between them. So I would love to know what that was. And also, of course, he left her and promised he would come back, and he never came back. So I would like to see him come back and meet her again. But with Daleks and monsters and explosions. Bring on.
Which of the reboot series is your favorite Doctor? Except yourself, because I'm sure you probably like yourself as the Doctor.
My favorite. I think they're all wonderful. I mean, I think, you have to. David and Matt have extraordinary skills. Great. I mean, Matt is this wonderful kind of somehow strangely. He's an old head on young shoulders. He's the most naturally cool of all the modern Doctors, and yet he has this spirit of this monk somewhere in there, which is absolutely fascinating. I love David. David is great. Is the actor who brought the essence of he was the first time really the Doctor Who really was a romantic lead. It was the first time I really believed that the Doctor could have a kind of emotional life. And he brought also a great humour, great plot to it all. So I think, David is sensational. And Chris, I think, the amazing thing about Chris, Christopher Eccleston is a fabulous actor anyway. But I think what people don't realise is that Chris came and did this show. There was no guarantee that the show was going to work. Chris was already a highly celebrated and respected actor with a great reputation. And he could have been coming to do this B-movie rubber monster show that might only last for 2 episodes. And he came and did it with all of the grace and commitment that is natural to him. And I always remember him doing that speech about feeling the earth turning, when he spoke about how fast the earth spun and that he could actually feel it happening. And I knew then that Doctor Who was back. So all of
Being a Doctor Who fan yourself, was there any monster?
Were there any other classic monsters?
If you could revive a monster from the classic series of Doctor Who to battle with, which would you choose?
I always, and I always bring this up, and people always, I think, I disbelieve it slightly. But I just love when in the old days when they made Doctor Who, they had no money at all, and they made a show that lasted 54 years with no money and under a lot of pressure, and sometimes with people not caring. And the reason that it lasted 54 years is because they filled it with imagination. And sometimes they didn't have the wherewithal to deliver what their imagination was telling them, what their imagination wanted to do. And when they did the old classic show, The Web Planet, it was an insect planet. They had no money, they had no time. So they made a planet full of ants and moths and termites, which were just made of cloth and fiberglass and tight trousers and flat shirts and bits of cotton wool and stuff. But I saw it when I was a child, and it burned itself into my imagination. It lived in my imagination. So I would have always liked us to have gone back to the Web Planet and seen the Minotaur and the Zarbi and all of that, and as if we could have made them with our technology the way they wanted to make them originally.
Thank you, Peter.
Who is your favorite?
Who's your all-time favorite?
Which one is your favorite monster or villain for Doctor Who?
The Chumblies.
I got it.
Call yourself Doctor Who fans.
Okay, the Chumblies are back. You can write it up.
They're very, very old,
fatter.
very tiny monsters from a long, long time ago. The Daleks, of course.
Seeing as you're both a fan and a doctor yourself, what would you say, either from the...
Is that your real accent?
Actually, it's not at all.
It's a very good accent.
Thank you, sir.
I'm assuming it's Scottish.
You
think it's Scottish?
The original one was Scottish, yes, sir.
Very good.
But seeing as you're both a fan and a doctor yourself, what would you say, either from the reboot or the classics, is your favourite episode?
What is your favorite Doctor Who episode ever?
Oh, that's a terrible question because there's so many Doctor Who episodes that I love. To be honest, if any episode of Doctor Who comes on, I will sit and watch it right to the end. If I'm flicking through TV, and then my wife thinks I'm really sad because I play Doctor Who, and I will still go, oh, it's the Sea Devils episode. So I'll just watch this until and she wants to change it. I said, let's just watch this to the end. But I mean, there's so many episodes. There are many, many very old episodes that I won't watch. Because they exist in my memory and in my imagination with great power. Yeah. And I think to actually watch them would reduce their impact. The Web Planet's a bit like that for me, because when you see the Web Planet, you see it provokes laughter among people and they think it's, but in fact, when I saw it the first time, I was a child. And I was absolutely intrigued and taken by these strange creatures that they had. Now, I look at them now and they're made of fiberglass and felt. And the Zabi bashes into the camera and all kind of things go wrong. But at the time, when you watch it as a child in a little flickering monochrome TV set in the corner of your room in a dark Glaswegian tenement, it's just fabulous. It's magical. So I want to keep that magic alive. So I love many, many episodes.
Really don't watch it, Peter. Really don't.
So, considering the lengthiness of the whole show of Doctor Who, what, if you guys can pick, is your favorite scene from, like, all of the years? If you can choose one.
Well, I love when the Daleks first appear. No, I like when the Dalek comes out of the water in Daleks Invasion Earth. As a kid, you must remember, I saw that when it went out. Like 100 years ago. And it was, we didn't know the Daleks were coming back. We should have realized from the title, Dalek Invasion Earth, that they might be in it. But we didn't know that. I don't think I could read. And suddenly at the end of the episode, this dome appeared out of the water, and then there it was, this incredible creature called a Dalek. That was hugely exciting.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Molly and Nicole.
Hi, Nicole and Peter.
Which episode was your favorite to film?
Are your personal favorites that really stood out to you?
Well, that's really difficult to say. I mean, I have to say I've just been really excited to do every episode that I've been in, because I still look around and I'm amazed that I'm Doctor Who, and that I'm on the TARDIS, and there are Daleks and Zygons and all these creatures around. But every single episode has something very particular and individual to it that always makes it exciting. I mean, I loved going into the Dalek. I loved meeting the Master. In his new form. I loved Listen. I loved the idea of seeing what the Doctor got up to when he wasn't having an adventure. And I think that was an episode that really as well set the tone for the relationship between Clara and the Doctor and her understanding of him. There are so many wonderful episodes. I don't like to pick on one.
I don't like to pick any episode and say, you know, because they've had such a wonderful time doing them all. There are some days filming that are more extraordinary than others, and I'm reminded of this beautiful sunshine today that we did at the end of my first season. We shot at St. Paul's Cathedral, you know, with Cybermen on a Saturday in weather like this, with hundreds of tourists, and it was just utterly magical. It was a wonderful, wonderful day, and I thought I'll never ever forget that experience. It was a strange, and I ran into because the bit when the Cybermen come out of St. Paul's Cathedral, and they largely didn't let the crew inside, but I ran in, and to see 8 Cybermen standing inside St. Paul's Cathedral, waiting for their cue was great. There are so many scenes that I've enjoyed that I can't really pick a specific one. I mean, the thing with Doctor Who is it comes in so many different levels. I mean, you can have a scene that is very intimate and emotional, which is, you know, I loved when we did Farewell to River Song, you know, with fabulous Alex Kingston. He was just so absolutely brilliant and so there and so full of emotion. And you know that you're sort of in a kind of pivotal moment in the show, but it's between 2 people. Or with Jen, so much of the stuff we did with Jen was incredible. But I also like when we just blow up a pile of Daleks. You know, sometimes my favourite thing is just blowing up a pile of monsters. It's my favourite scene. I just did a whole pile of scenes where I was blowing up a whole pile of Cybermen. That was just so good.
What was one of your favorite episodes to shoot? Was it because it was challenging, or did you just have super fun on set?
I think Heaven Sent was challenging and it's exciting because there was, you know, it was just basically the Doctor, and there hadn't been an episode like that in the history of the show, so that was a new thing. And I got to work with Rachel very closely, and with the crew. You know, although I work with the crew every day, you develop an even finer relationship with them. You know, with our wonderful cameraman Mark McCoist, who is responsible for so much of the way the show looks. And so that was a special time. And also, we didn't know whether that would work. We didn't know if it would all hang together, and the bits, you know, the last pages of the script were coming in really a couple of days before we started, and we didn't know if it would all work, but I think it did. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just wondering what the most fun you've had on set is.
We actually take our jobs very seriously. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of serious concentration and depth that I can tell. Yeah. So no, there's no laughter.
No carry on.
Can you tell us what you recall as your funniest moment? Made you laugh?
Well, when we're making Doctor Who, things made me laugh all the time. Largely just because I'm in Doctor Who. I just don't like them actually standing in the toilet. It made me laugh when the props guy tried to show me how to work the toilet. But I knew how to work the toilet. Show them which switch operated which. I liked when I first rehearsed with the Daleks, Into the Dalek. That was made me laugh a lot. Because I was very much the new boy, and I hope I'm not giving anything away here, but there are people inside the Daleks. And Barnaby, who's the chief Dalek guy, I had to work with him, but I didn't know how it was done. And Barnaby said to me, "Would you like to do the scene? Shall we rehearse the scene?" And I said, "Well, yeah, but there's no Dalek here." But he said, "No, but I am the Dalek." Of course you are. I'm a new boy. And he says, you'll find that my eyes are exactly the same height from the ground as the Dalek eye sockets. So if you do the scene and look into my eyes, you'll be doing it with the Dalek. And then I said, oh fine, okay, but I said, but your voice is with all due respect, is not, classic Dalek material. He said, no, but Nick's here, who does do the Dalek voice. And Nick has a sort of rugby top and no microphone thing with him, no special modulator. And he came and joined us, and we did the whole scene, all the scenes from Into the Dalek, with me looking at Barnaby, who was going. And Nick not talking in a Dalek, talking but not doing his Dalek voice like this. So that made me laugh. But then when when the Dalek did come, and Barnaby got inside it, and Nick got the modulator going, and there was another wee man operating all the lights, I have to say, I just went, wow. Because actually just, when it comes together, when it doesn't run into the wall and get stuck, when it actually comes together and it starts talking to you, it's incredible. Really powerful.
My best memory from filming the series, it's all of it. When you get allowed to be Doctor Who, and you get your gear on, which makes you feel like Doctor Who, and then they put you in the TARDIS. And I think the first time, emerging from the TARDIS is great, but actually when you are in the TARDIS control room set, and you start to operate that, and you start to find your way around that, and make it your own, that's really special. So I think my first day on in the interior TARDIS set was a very special moment for me. And also I had lovely props man was trying to tell me how to operate the TARDIS. So you move this, you pull that switch there, and you move around, you go like that and that. I didn't like to say to him, I know how to work the TARDIS. And also, you have your own way of working the TARDIS because the TARDIS changes according to the Doctor. So I had to find my own, and I'd worked out my own way of operating it. I was able to do all that, and that was great. Cool. The TARDIS is a very welcoming set. I think most the crew are very happy to be working on the TARDIS, although it's quite noisy. It's a very balming sort of place. The prop I would most like to take home would be the TARDIS interior, the whole thing. That's where I'd like to live.
Hello, how are you? Would you like a jelly baby? Would be amazing. Doctor, would you like a jelly baby? Thank you very much. I have my own.
If you could go back any place in time on Earth's history.
Where in time and space?
Where and when?
The past or the future?
I would go to the past.
What's an era in time you'd like to travel back to?
New York in the 20s.
I go to March the 11th, 2014, because that's when I lost this really great pair of shades that I had. I know where I left them. I went back, they were gone.
Neither of you would go off planet?
Off planet?
Where and when? The Doctor can take you anywhere.
He wants his sunglasses.
I'm going anywhere without your shades. People always ask this question, and so there's a kind of pop answer, and there's a kind of personal. And here's the Beatles. They've come all the way from the 60s. We love you, I think I would like to see, I think New York in the 30s would be pretty amazing to see. I think the pyramids, all of it. That question, the truth is, if you really answered that question, really, honestly, you'd probably want to go and see some people that you don't see anymore. That's probably what you'd do. If you had the ability to travel that time, you probably wouldn't go to see, the Empire State Building being built. You go to see, maybe your first day at school, or, so, yeah.
You've directed and written in the past.
You also have a tidy little directing career.
Have you any desire to direct an episode?
In the Whoniverse.
No.
There you go.
He's gone a bit 12th Doctor, hasn't he? In fairness, Peter does have a massive full-time job on the show. No one could direct an episode of Doctor Who and be in it. It just wouldn't be physically possible. Otherwise, maybe once he's left, he could come back and do one, but he couldn't do one now. You just couldn't. We work our directors to death.
It's too hard. I think the directors are amazing, and I look at them with awe and great delight that I'm not standing in their shoes.
And you are the only Oscar-winning director who's ever been on that set.
And they do a fabulous job, and I want a quieter life than that.
I don't really. I absolutely love playing the Doctor, and I also see that the task that the directors on Doctor Who have is such a challenging, an immense one. The reason Doctor Who looks the way it is, the reason that it's so good is because of the extra effort that all of the people who work on the show put in. And what they're asked to do on a day-to-day basis is, it's like director's boot camp. I mean, they're asked to deliver massive scenes with lots of monsters and explosions and gags and tragedy and comedy. And I am just really happy to be playing the Doctor and not to have all of those problems, And I think they do it so beautifully, and I just admire them so much for doing it. But no, I have enjoyed directing, but I think I just liked directing as a kind of, I was just exploring that whole artistic seam, rather than saying, I want to be a director, because that's a whole different ballgame when you take it on as a profession. But I just liked having a go at it. But Doctor Who is too technically challenging. You have to really know your stuff. And we're working with a director just now called Rachel Talley, who did the finale last year. And the skill that I watch her every day deploying is so remarkable and so admirable. And its experience and its craft and its talent and a way with people that I don't have.